Hey, you look bored with your current Final Fantasy XIV experience. Well, I can fix that after a few questions. First, do you have an unhealthy love and attachment to belts, straps, and coats of all kinds? Second, do you want a fast queue pretending to be a tank while acting like a DPS? And finally, do you like to wield obscure and impractical weapons for the defense of your friends? Well then, do I have a job for you. The Gunbreaker. It wields obscure and impractical weaponry, is a tank that acts like a DPS, and has just enough techno-edginess to add plausible deniability to any character. Roll one today. Hey all, it's Nim or Nimicry if you're feeling professional, and welcome to the YouTube video. Now today we're going to be talking about the Gunbreaker and the changes that are happening to it in Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. Before we get started, if you like me or you like what I do here, go on and click subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with everything the channel does. We focus on Final Fantasy XIV content, MMO content, and the odd indie game. Additionally, on screen right now, you should see a list of people scrolling by. Those wonderful and supportive people are my patrons. If you'd like to join them, you can join them at patreon.com/Nimicry and gain some exclusive perks. Without further ado, the Gunbreaker. The Gunbreaker is currently pictured in what looks like Charlian, and we see a nice little Royal Navy kind of steampunkish vibe thing. I like it. I'm digging it. It's like piratey plus officery. I'm a fan. Now, the Cool Gun Kids were added as the last tank in the game, but they're still getting a good bit of flavor and changes in Endwalker. The ability to gain another cartridge already adds a good bit of flexibility. There's also a trait upgrade, which gives Heart of Stone more mitigation and general trimming in terms of overall hotbar actions, which were awfully bloated on the Gunbreaker compared to other tanks. So a note on ability bloat, right, and button bloat. So if you have buttons that override each other or buttons to keep buffs up, that's a bad thing. That's a bad design. So for example, right now as a paladin, I have my 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 7 combos. So 1, 2, 3 is my Fast Blade, Riot Blade, Royal Authority. 1, 2, 7 is Fast Blade, Riot Blade, Goring Blade. So I have those set up. Ideally, I'd like to see Fast Blade and Riot Blade just combined to a single button that's context sensitive. So, meaning if I've used Fast Blade, okay, well then it'll switch to Riot Blade, boom, and then from there I can either switch to Royal Authority or Goring Blade. And that cuts down one button out of there. And you may not think, well, what's one button? Well, think about how many times you press one button. Think about latency. Think about, oh, I gotta find this. Sometimes people forget where things are. It happens. And of course, eventually you do memorize your hotbars. It's fine. And I know I do also have my magic combo, which is Requisite and Holy Circle or Holy Spirit, ending with Confiteor. Now, it is changing in Endwalker, and you can find all about the Paladin changes right here. Click that card. In the latter respect, the branching combos that involve Gnashing Fang and Continuation are now entirely dual-button affairs. Previously, you began with Gnashing Fang and moved to either Savage Claw or the continuation action, Jugular Rip. Continuation would become Jugular Rip, Abdomen Tear, or Eye Gouge, depending on the buff gained from the base Gnashing Fang combo. Now, that combo, Gnashing Fang, Savage Claw, and Wicked Talon, is a single context-sensitive button that changes with each use. The latter action, aside from Gnashing Claw, can no longer be assigned to a hotbar. In smaller changes, Super Belize's duration has been increased to 10 seconds, up from 8 seconds, all the more time to terrify your healers. Now, currently, I'm doing some farming for mounts, and we have a guy who likes to be a Gunbreaker, and he'll just Super Belide whenever he feels like it. Usually our healers, just let him die. And it's fine. But of course, it's a useful skill to have when you're actually being serious about content, so keep that in mind that it will last a little bit longer. When it comes to the new kit, Gunbreaker is somewhat similar to the Dark Knight. At level 82, you gain access to the Heart of Stone mastery trait, which turns Heart of Stone into Heart of Corundum. The latter still reduces damage taken by a party member or yourself by 15% and gives your target the Brutal Shell Barrier if it's up. There are two additional effects, though, similar to the Paladin's Holy Sheltron and Warrior's Bloodwetting. The first is Clarity of Corundum, which reduces damage taken by 15% for 4 seconds, while Catharsis of Corundum restores HP when it falls below 50%, or when the effect ends after 10 seconds. So just a bit more mitigation has been added. Now I want to pause there for a second. I like that they're kind of homogenizing, but with flavor, for basic mitigation tools across the tanks. So, for example, as a paladin, I have Knight's Benediction and Knight's Resolve, which essentially do the same thing. That being said, I don't put an Absorb Shell on anyone, the Brutal Shell Barrier, so that's kind of cool. And I like that that's, like I said, homogenization with a little bit of flavor. And the fact that the Catharsis Conundrum can trigger 2 ways is very helpful. You know, you take the big hit, whap, up, nah, I'm good. What's up? How you doing? Or when the effect ends after 10 seconds. So if there's some ticking damage, you can get that light heal, save a healer a GCD who can use it for glare or any other type of damage. At level 84, you gain the Enhanced Aurora trait, which allows you to accumulate 2 charges of Aurora. The Melee Mastery trait comes at the same level and increases the potency of Keen Edge, Brutal Shell, and Solid Barrier. At level 86, the Gunbreaker gains the Enhanced Continuation trait, which adds the Ready to Blast buff for 10 seconds after using Burst Strike. This allows Continuation button to turn into Hyper Velocity, which delivers an instant attack with a potency of 200. Hyper Velocity does not cost a cartridge like Burst Strike. Very, very important to keep that in mind. So it's just a meaty follow-up for more damage. And, of course, the Paladin and the Warrior also get the Melee Mastery trait. I believe the Dark Knight does as well. Haven't looked at that yet. We will later in the next video. But the Melee Mastery trait you want, because here's the thing. If you didn't have that on a tank, people are like, well, why would I bring that other tank? There's going to be a huge potency gap over the course of the fight. So, makes sense there. Gunbreakers gain their 3rd charge at level 88 when they gain Cartridge Charge 2. This changes Bloodfest to fill up 3 cartridges instead of 2. Not only does this give the Gunbreaker more combo flexibility, it also allows them to use their final action and still have a cartridge left over. At level 90, you gain Double Down, an action that costs 2 cartridges and deals a whopping 1200 potency to 1 target, plus 20% less damage to all remaining enemies nearby. We're going to assume it's going to be 5 yards. We'll look at the proper tooltip later. This is the strongest tank AoE action, which you can align for No Mercy for 20% more damage. Now, so if we add 20% to that, we end up at 1440. So, not bad. It's a pretty decent chunk of damage, might I say. So, the Heart of Stone Mastery, there's the actual tooltip, and it upgrades Heart of Stone to Heart of Corundum. The Heart of Corundum reduces damage taken by a party member or self by 15%. The duration is 8 seconds. Additional effect when targeting a party member while under the effect of Brutal Shell. That effect is also granted to the target. Very useful, especially in a dungeon when you have that one DPS who's going to be like, I'm going to go stand in a fire. I'm going to go stand in a fire. And you're like, no, fire's bad. In fact, my wife, who doesn't play MMOs, will tell you, fire bad. Also, acid, green, death, whatever it is, that's bad. Get out of it. The additional effect is it grants Clarity of Corundum, reducing damage taken by 50%, duration is 4 seconds, grants Catharsis of Corundum, restoring HP when HP falls below 50%, or upon effect duration expiration, and that duration is 10 seconds. We look here we see this is the 30 second for Brutal Shell, the 4 seconds for Clarity, and the 10 seconds for Catharsis. The Enhanced Aurora allows the accumulation of charges for consecutive uses of Aurora. Makes sense? 2 charges. Melee Mastery increases the potency of Keen Edge, 210, Brutal Shell to 110, and Solid Barrel to 110. Again, pretty simple, pretty easy, it's all passive. Enhanced Continuation. Become ready to blast after executing Burst Strike. Hyper Velocity. Delivers an attack with a potency of 200, can only be executed when ready to blast. Cannot be assigned to a hotbar, so it's going to change your continuation to, it's going to change probably your Burst Strike to ready to blast. We'll see what happens there. Cartridge Charge 2. Increases the powder gauge capacity to 3 cartridges. Executing Bloodfest stores 3 cartridges. Makes sense. And, of course, Double Down. Delivers an attack to all nearby enemies with a potency of 1200 for the first enemy and 20% less for all remaining enemies. Now, the interesting thing is the Paladin and the Warrior's big attack actually cut 50% as opposed to 20%. So that's pretty good. I have to say, honestly, I approve of that. So here's the thing, guys. What do you think about the Gunbreaker, right? We'll scroll back up, take a look at our good friend, the Gunbreaker, looking all fly. What do you think about the Gunbreaker? Are you going to be maining a Gunbreaker? You going to swing that sword, blow some shotgun shells off at people? Are you going to stick to other tanks, or maybe you're going to say, DPS heals, that's my role? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below, of course. Now, that being said, if you like this video, go on and click subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you can stay up to date with everything the channel does. If you'd like to connect with me, you can on Twitter at Nimicry. My name, Nimicry. We have a link to the Discord down there. It's my personal Discord, which I try to answer as much as I can when people talk to me there. Outside of that, if you like this, thanks for watching so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. you.